Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome to our latest webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly. And I'm delighted to be joined this morning by Paul Ludlow, who is, of course, the president of P&O Cruises. Welcome, Paul. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you? It's good to see
Yeah, well,
you.
I've seen a lot of you this week. So
Yeah.
we were at the UK Cruise Awards together. That's the awards given by the six brands within the Carnival UK business. And we were there. Fantastic night of celebration for agents, wasn't it, Paul?
It was fantastic. Obviously, due to the pandemic in the last couple of years, we had to pause the UK Cruise Awards, but to have the six Carnival brands who operate in the UK come together and host over 200 agents at Madame Tussauds was just felt great. It felt normal. It felt like a real moment of celebration. And we just had fun, which I think is what we needed after a difficult couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really good. Nice time in the year as well, because people are feeling quite, buoyant. It was a positive, good feeling in the room because certainly when you speak to agents, they seem to be having quite a good January. So let's
Yeah.
come on to that now for you guys. How is the wave period going for you?
Really well. I know that a lot of people have said it, and it's actually really encouraging to hear that everybody's having a good time of it, because actually when only one brand is doing well, that concerns me, because I think, well, somebody else might have to drop prices in order to stimulate demand. But from what I'm hearing at the moment, the whole market is doing very well, both in cruise and outside of cruise. And I think the industry needed this. I think we've had a difficult couple of years. So for us to now be able to celebrate together, celebrate that people are taking holidays once again and taking cruise holidays once again is great. I think it shows that the fundamentals of our business, despite the knocks that we've taken in the last couple of years, are really strong. And right now, as people are looking for value in their holidays, I think, cruise is right at the top of the list. So P&O Cruises is doing very well at the moment.
All right, good. You mentioned prices. Let's come on to that because it's a bit of a thorny one. I mean, I've talked to quite a number of agents in the cruise sector who are saying they're doing very well on volume. I mean, the demand is there. There's lots of cruises being sold. Clearly, people are seeing the value, like you just talked about.
Mm.
But actually, the prices by some lines, and P&O has been mentioned in that conversation. Some of the lines, they're very keen. I mean, I had a little look before coming on this call, as you might expect. You've got cruises, 14-night cruises in the Caribbean, including air, for about £1,000. And these aren't on old ships; these are on some of your newest tonnage.
Mm.
One of the agents said they had a couple that had just come back from one of your cruises, and they paid $560 for 14 nights. You've got cruises in January 2024, 14 nights for 770, so £770. So these are, I've seen them, I've had a look on and online. So why are you selling at those kind of prices?
So I think, well, first of all, P&O Cruises sells a huge number of holidays every single year. So I think even just out of Southampton, we have over 200 departures a year. We operate 7 ships, every day of the year. And so, of course, there are going to be some itineraries that need a bit of stimulation to fill them. And then there are others that are doing very, very well. So I'm sure that P&O, with the scale of how we operate, there's always going to be a couple of instances where there are some price points that are very attractive. Generally, across the board, our prices are going up. And if you compare our prices versus prior years, and I think 2019 is the best comparator,
Yeah.
our prices have materially increased. So I think what that shows is we are able to charge more for cruise holidays than we are able to pre-pandemic, because of the value equation and the fact that the cost of living crisis has pushed everything up for everybody. And
Yeah.
some of the examples that you point out is actually where we're seeing demand now eclipsing our financial plan. So in the Caribbean for this winter, we didn't predict as much demand as what we're now seeing. So our financial model has been eclipsed, and we're now
Right.
topping up on top of the base that we assumed for that period of time. So in actual fact, some
But
people are
do
going
you
through
make
great.
money on a cruise at that level though, Paul, with when the flights are so expensive?
I
Or
think
is
one
it,
of the
or do you not need to make, are you saying you don't need to make money on every single stateroom that you're selling, cabin that you're selling?
So of course our ships are huge, so we get the benefit of economies of scale. So the financial benefit of sailing at 100% is very attractive to us
Mm.
versus a lower proportion. And of course, we contract our air seats in advance. So therefore, obviously, every bed that we sell makes a contribution to our costs. So for our perspective, it's always most attractive to sail at 100%.
Yeah.
And I think where we are for this winter, which is a really good thing, is we hadn't predicted this year being as strong as it's turning out to be,
Okay.
both in terms of near-term bookings, but also near-term desire to travel. And so that's a really great thing for us. And I think it just comes back to the earlier comments we were making around the strength of the market at the moment, and
Yeah.
it's beyond our expectations. So
But what about that forward one, the one I was quoting you for January 2024, where you've got an inside cabin from 770, balcony at 1100. And if you break that down across the 14 nights, I mean, it's not far off £50 a day. I mean, I know we want to showcase the value of cruise against a land holiday, and it is phenomenal, and we need to get that message out. But at that point, agents are not making any money on selling it for you. And I wonder how it works for your model. I know what you're saying about this winter, but what about looking
So I
ahead to
think on that
January
example
24?
you're quoting there is most likely a cruise only fare type rather than inclusive of a flight. And then, of course, when you discount the cost of the air off the cost of the package that's being sold separately, that 770 is a comparable value to something that's priced more expensive. And so there are instances where those types of deals work for people who want more flexible travel arrangements. But of course, for P&O, most of our guests will take a package.
Take a package, yeah.
Security and the connections just work really seamlessly for them.
Okay. And presumably getting the ship full is important, because then they might spend on board. And what are you seeing there in terms of people spend when they're actually on the holiday? Given that we're in a cost of living crisis, are you seeing it impacting at all?
So we are seeing onboard revenues equally increase. Of course, people now can structure the way that they pay for things on board. So a lot of their spend can be done in advance of their holiday. So people will often purchase drinks packages in advance of their holiday. They may even choose some of their select dining restaurants ahead of their holiday. And of course, when they then get on board, it's almost like those costs have already been incurred and they're starting again. And then when they're on the ships with us, we're getting lots of comments around just how great value things seem to be. So when they buy a drink at one of our bars, they are astounded by the value, because they've now become accustomed to how much that same drink would cost when they have it ashore. And of course, we know from our own lives that those costs are exponentially increasing. So I think people get on board, they realize A, that they're on holiday, and B, that what they're doing is great value for money, and people are just enjoying themselves, and that results into improved onboard revenues from our perspective.
Good. All right. And then you mentioned earlier that you're seeing prices going up. So what's your prediction then? Going, I mean, it's a good message, isn't it? But don't leave it too late, otherwise you'll be paying more. But I mean, we've had a few people selling land-based holidays absolutely bullish about they're going to be putting their prices up. So what do you see happening for P&O?
So I do think now is the best time to book, or probably earlier even would have been the best time to book. I do think prices will continue to go up throughout this year. I also think that the cruise industry now that we're back, and now a lot of this capacity growth that we've seen is now behind us, and we're going to go through a period of consolidation. I think that's a real opportunity for lines to further strengthen their pricing. So as I look towards the back end of this year, and I look towards 24 and even 25, which is already on sale now, I see the pricing curve continuing to increase, because we would have moved through that period where we've had the increase of capacity. We'll have a period of consolidation, and that gives us the opportunity to further strengthen pricing. So
yeah, I think you've had ships coming pretty quickly, haven't you? So I see what you're saying, because you don't have any more currently on the books. So because actually it's been interesting with Iona and Avia. Normally, when you have brand new tonnage, you can charge a premium, can't you, for that hardware? But some of these prices that we're seeing are on your newest ships, so which is unusual.
Well, so the Iona and Avia project was 7 years in the making. I remember when we first sat down and started to think about the next ships for P&O. And of course, we knew that 2023 versus 2019 for P&O was a 40% capacity increase. And so 7 years ago, we had this really well thought through plan about how these ships would enter service, and one after the next.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic kind of hit us hard, and both ships were somewhat impacted by that. Now, I know that we've only just launched Avia, but she's been on sale for 2 years, and a period of that was in the pandemic. But it is what it is. These ships will be with us for a long time. The guests are really enjoying their experiences on those ships. So once they go away, word of mouth will spread. That will increase the demand, and we will, I'm sure, be able to build from that point moving forward. So, as I said, I think the fundamentals are really strong, and we're now coming out the back of the pandemic. So it's good to see that people are booking once again.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to come on to Arvia because she's very exciting things coming up for her with her naming ceremony. So we'll come back to that. But just before we move on from this whole issue of, I guess it's a balancing act, isn't it? Because you want to show the value you've got all this capacity to fill. You want to get new to cruise. That's always been we talked about that some time ago when you knew you had these ships coming. You were saying we've got to be like a regular holiday company, not just play in the cruise sector. But the problem is if you sell too cheaply, you then attract a different market, and then you get some loyal, your absolute loyal P&O guests who are a bit like, well, hold on, I'm not sure I want to be sailing with. I mean, and we've had some of those reports back from agents that their clients are kind of going, oh, there's a different kind of people coming now on a P&O ship because of the price that they can get it for.
So I think our target market is mainstream Britain, right? And so what's lovely now about the scale of our fleet and the number of people we take on holiday is I think there's something out there for everybody. So if you want to sail on a smaller ship, then we've got an amazing choice for you. And if you want to sail on a larger ship, we've got great choice. If you want to visit some of the less visited destinations, we can take you there. But equally, we can take you to the headline ports as well. And when we introduced the concept of Iona and Arvia, some of our most loyal past guests said to us, well, we're not sure that's for us.
Because they wanted to be on those smaller ones.
But of course, many of them travel with it and actually now tell us that they don't want to go back to some of the other ships in the fleet. And so it's always the way that, we try to predict future trends. One of the big things that we have to do at P&O Cruises is stay relevant to Britain today. I think one of the strengths within our brand is that we are the best of Britain. I talk a lot about how people who travel with us, their life is good, but when they holiday with us, their holiday is great. And it's because we understand their needs and their wants from a holiday. So when we introduced Arvia, we introduced new restaurant concepts, new entertainment concepts, because we predicted the trends in Britain before they were going to happen. And I think people are now discovering that with us. And equally, to your point, we're welcoming new guests because A, they see the value, B, they see the quality, and they just think, wow, I can't get that elsewhere, and I don't even get that in my life normally. So all of these things together just make sure that we remain very salient to Britain, and we keep attracting the near 1 million people a year we take on holiday.
Staggering, isn't it, when you mention that? I mean, the other thing for you guys as well is that you're only fishing in one pot. You're selling only in the UK, whereas some of your competitors, obviously there's a lot of competition now in Southampton and everyone's got lots of ships to fill, but they can perhaps draw on other markets, whereas you guys, again, it's a double-edged sword because in many ways it's great because you've only got one market to market to. You can make the product entirely devoted to the British customer, but if there are issues, you haven't really got anywhere else to go. So is that a double-edged sword, or is it actually?
I think it's a real strength of ours. I think the fact that we pretty much exclusively source from the UK means that we can tailor an experience that we know our guests are going to love. And so us Brits, we do enjoy things done in a certain way. And therefore we can do that. We can deliver like that every single day for our guests so that they come on board with us and they don't have that initial misalignment with the experience based upon their expectations. They can get on enjoying their holiday straight away. But you've got to remember, whilst within the travel industry, we talk a lot about cruise, outside of our understanding of the industry, you've got to remember that cruise still has a very small penetration into all the overall holiday market. I think cruise is still only about 3 or 4% of the total package holiday market. And so our opportunity in the UK to find more people who want to come and cruise with us is massive. And again, when we thought about our ships and introducing this tonnage into our brand, we did that scaling exercise where we went out to understand, well, how big is the potential of the UK market? And honestly, we've only but scratched the surface. We really, really have. So when we think about P&O and its opportunity, I think we've got massive opportunity to reach new audiences who have yet to even think or take a cruise. And we know that once they do, they're hooked. And they will come back time and time again.
Even if the prices go up and they then got to find a bit more money.
Well, even when the prices go up, I would argue that there's unbeatable value on a cruise.
Still good value. So that must be a big plan for you guys then, as you've got your new tonnage, you haven't got to worry about new ship launches apart from, we've got the naming ceremony. But what do you do then, Paul, and you and your team, when you're looking at how you penetrate this market even more, as you say, beyond that 3-4%? How do we spread the word about cruise more than we, because we're trying, aren't we? We're doing quite a good job.
Yeah.
But what's your plan then, or what should the cruise industry's plan be?
So I think for P&O, we have to. I think we're doing a lot of really innovative stuff. So it feels like we've talked about it for a while now. But the partnership with Gary Barlow, for example, he gives us reach into audiences that otherwise wouldn't be looking at cruise holidays, and so therefore that's great. He travelled on Iona just a couple of weeks ago, actually, and he did an Instagram story. That Instagram story went to over 1 million people.
Wow.
That Instagram story went to over 1 million people, and we've got an ongoing relationship with Gary. So when you just think of the potential of that alone, it's huge. You then think about
sorry, can I just ask, that when you say ongoing, there's no end to that. He's like an ambassador for you with your entertainment.
He really is an ambassador as well. He really enjoys working with us, and we enjoy working with him. It feels like a really natural thing that we're doing right now. So as far as I'm concerned, long may it continue.
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we've done a lot with our food heroes that we've spoken a lot about in the past, the likes of Marco Pierre White. It just shows people the quality that we offer. But recently as well, we've been doing a lot with social media influencers, and we've seen some success from that. These people are able to get us to lifestyle communities of people that are now discovering cruise for the first time.
So this is targeting a slightly younger demographic, is it? Or
well, we're certainly targeting people that perhaps are not cruise influencers, that are potentially lifestyle influencers, because that is helping us to attract people that are further up the funnel. So they start to understand that the content that's being produced is relatable for them, and they then start looking at cruise in a slightly different way, and then they discover P&O Cruises. So for us, I think us and the industry, we have to keep innovating in our communication styles and our messaging, so that people discover cruise through a trusted source. And I think they can be introduced to cruise by someone that they trust or that they like and love. It causes them to reappraise what they might have thought before. And as I say, 97% of holidays sold in the UK are not cruise holidays. So I just think we've got a huge opportunity to further grow this market.
Yeah, well, look, let's talk about trusted sources, which of course many people go to a travel agent. They find that the trusted source to buy a holiday. It seems, Paul, you're working more with the trade, I would say. I mean, for a while we would be kind of quizzing you about your direct sell strategy. That was increasing for a while, but it now sort of feels like you're more focused on the trade lately. I might be wrong, but that's how it feels. What would you say to that?
I don't think fundamentally internally anything has changed. I think we've listened to a lot of feedback from our agent partners around how they want us to work with them. Of course, we have Rob Scott now, who heads as Vice President of Sales in our business, and supported by Ruth Venn, who's our Director of Sales. I think those both are doing a really wonderful job for us, and they're really connecting with agents. But of course, we have our Shine program, we have our activity we do with Facebook Live, we have a team out on the road. I think the agent landscape has evolved since the pandemic, and the way in which we interact with them has had to change. And we've done that by just listening to what they need. And I'm glad it's working, because we've put a lot of effort into it. It's really important to us. The travel agents are still the vast majority of our distribution, and to the earlier point, will help us unlock new to cruise guests. So we just had the UK Cruise Awards just a couple of days ago, and it was great to recognise some success within that night. So yeah, long may it continue. We certainly have no desire to do anything differently other than continue to delight our agents.
Okay. And forgive me for being devil's advocate, but there are some skeptical agents out there that might be saying, well, they've got a lot of capacity at the moment, so they need us. But are they going to then turn back to their slightly more direct approach and leave us? So that there's a few rumblings like that. What would you say?
So genuinely at the moment, I'm happy with how it works. I'm happy with the commercial relationships we've got with our agent partners. I think what's brilliant about P&O is that they have real consistency with us. We've got a fleet of ships that are in and out of Southampton year in, year out. We don't move our ships to other parts of the world. They know that they can build business models with us and have surety that they are going to be in place for years to come. And this incremental capacity that we've introduced, incremental 40%, I really hope that that helps agents grow their businesses as well and make more money out of selling cruise.
Okay, so you're in with agents for the long haul. We like to hear that. And you mentioned there that the retail or the agent landscape has changed, Paul, because obviously, you know, there's a lot of cruise specialists, which are fantastic, but are you managing to find new agents? Because I guess finding new to cruise, you've also got to work with new agents as well. Are you seeing some changes there, or is it very concentrated still in the cruise specialists?
So I've been around for a while. I think I've now just celebrated 21 years with the business. And over those 21 years, I've seen lots of change in the agent distribution space at lots of stage. And I think that probably 10, 15 years ago, there were more independent agents selling cruise holidays. We've seen a lot of consolidation. We've seen some businesses go out of business over that period of time. And now it's fair to say that the industry, it's more consolidated than it was. And so I think the agents that are occupying the space right now are doing a tremendous job. I really do. I think they're really innovative. They offer fantastic customer service, and they're winning new customers for us. But I would like to see more travel agents sell cruise.
Yeah.
I definitely would love to welcome people into the market to widen our distribution, and we can help them establish ways of working that are going to be profitable for them selling our brands. And so really, yeah, if you're interested in selling cruise, then come and speak to us, because I think we've now got some great tips and tricks that we could share with you that will give you a leg up and get into that market space. So I just, I say to people, come and speak to us if you want to sell cruise holidays.
All right, good. I keep mentioning we're going to talk about it, so let's do it now because it's an exciting thing that's happening. A couple of months' time, you're going to be naming Arvia. I know she's started sailing, but you've got this fantastic naming ceremony in Barbados. Are you able to give us? I mean, you've invited people. I mean, I think some people are going if they're very lucky. Everyone else is invited to come and watch it. You're going to stream it, like a bit like you did with Iona. So, what do we got in store?
So this is going to be our best ever naming event for sure. I can't give you too much details of the content right now, but what I can tell you is it's going to be the first naming event where it happens simultaneously, both on the ship just off of the beach and on the beach at the same time. So we're going to have some very, very recognizable performers performing across those two locations, both in eyesight of each other. And imagine it, in a March cold evening in the UK, you switch on your screens and you see the Caribbean sun, the beach, the turquoise waters. I mean, if that isn't going to inspire booking a holiday, then I really don't know what will. And so it's going to be very, very special, and I can't wait for people to join us. And on the station of how they can join us, we are ambitious in our plans. We would love to set a record for the world's biggest watch party. So the whole being that as it's happening live, you can be at home and you can watch it on your screens with your friends and family around you, having a party, watching our party. And so the notion of that, I think, will be very, very cool. And we've got some of our influencer partners and some of our celebrity partners that are going to join in on the fun. And I think together we can celebrate not only the ship being named, but equally the return of the cruise industry.
You think you wouldn't do it, but I remember sitting at this very desk. I'm in my son's bedroom. I dressed up with my daughter. You'd sent us out some streamers and confetti and things, and I watched. You think you're not going to do it, but it was amazing. I sat here and watched the Iona naming, and we pulled our streamers and had the confetti everywhere. It took me
well, one of the I guess one of the most popular programs on television at the moment is Gogglebox, right? We love watching people watch, and so I think it's going to be great, and it will not disappoint. I'll save some of the secrets for another day, but I promise.
Well, we don't even know who the godmother is yet. When's that going to be announced? Have we got any?
In about 5 weeks.
Okay, but you got a good one.
We've got an amazing one.
All right, so we're going to hit. So is that what you're going to do? You're going to tell us a few little things so that we know what we're going to get to see.
And as we
So
get closer, 16th of March, as we get a
yeah,
little closer to then, we'll reveal some of the details. But yeah, I look forward to people joining us.
oh, it'd be great. I not to bring you down, but while we're talking about Arvia, we should just mention it was a bit tough. You had a bit of negative feedback, didn't you, from her sailings over Christmas and her initial sailing. So yeah, the media, you know, there was quite a lot of backlash or feedback was saying people didn't have the experience or the service or whatever that they wanted. I mean, are you over that now? How did you deal with all of
Yeah.
that?
So you know, let's remember the scale of Arvia. Arvia is carrying 5,500 passengers. She has 2,000 crew on board. She's a big floating city. And I think much like any other resort that would be opened or large hotels, you know, often there are a few small issues. And we did have a few small IT issues that affected a handful of guests on the Christmas Day experience. Now, of course, those guests were having a 14-night holiday with us. And for the 14 nights that they were with us, they genuinely had a wonderful holiday. Unfortunately, some of the UK media picked up on those stories, and rather than focusing in on the innovation, the quality, the economic multiplying effect that this ship has for the local region in the south of England, and all of them really lots of other positive things that they could have ran with, they did run with the experience of a few guests.
Yeah.
I can say now that those problems are behind us. In actual fact, those problems were behind us very, very quickly. And
Yeah,
on that on
sorry, I
that
was going
same
to say.
cruise, people had a New Year's celebration with Ronan Keating, and so had the best New Year's party at sea. So, you know, 14-night holiday, great time had by all, but admittedly, on Christmas Day there were a handful of guests that it didn't go perfectly for.
And those kind of things, I mean, do they brush over quite quickly, or are they quite damaging? Because of course you had that awful situation as well with the negative press you were getting around another company that was nothing to do with you, but you had a similar name. So I mean, is that kind of stuff that you can get over?
So yes, I mean the P&O Cruises brand is enormously powerful. You know, I think it really resonates with Britain, and I think it means something in a very trusted way to people. So yes, of course we move past these things. Unfortunately, when negative media is created, it does have quite a large reach. And the P&O ferries example that you're referring to was particularly challenging. You know, we moved
Yeah,
through the COVID period, we thought there was light at the end of the tunnel, and that happened. And you know,
yeah,
it
it's
was
tough.
like, what next? You know, what
Yeah,
next? And we
no,
came
that
out
was
and
tough.
we spent a lot of money on trying to educate people that we have absolutely nothing to do with P&O
Yeah,
ferry.
yeah. No, I think people probably felt for you at that point. That
But
was
the
very,
media
very tough.
reach of our investment was not as great as the media reach of the negativity, but people were educated over time, and I think it's something now that's behind us rather than still with
But
us.
one thing you did well, and actually you did all through the pandemic, is that you put yourself forward and you came on during that and went, we're nothing to do with P&O ferries, just to be clear. You did it
Right.
all through the pandemic as well about the decisions that you were making. Was that just a sort of, are you only going to do that when it's times of crisis, or are we going to see more of you, you know, as we move forward, to, you know, talking to your customers, talking to your agents?
So through the pandemic, I think I was putting myself out there on a monthly basis, and we were really consistent with making sure that we spoke to our
Because it's not
guests.
really what you like to do, is it, Paul? I mean, it's not your natural. I
I
don't know what it's not your
remember.
natural thing, but you did
Well, I
it,
remember
and
the first time I filmed it was with an iPhone, sat in this very room with a memorized script. But what we've learned over the time is actually our guests have really, and our agent partners have really appreciated that connection. And
yeah,
so what we now do is I still do it, but quarterly. So I do it every 3 months. And
yeah. You could have too much of Paul Ludlow in your living room.
but it's still really well received. And
Yeah,
what we hear from our guests is that they enjoy hearing firsthand what's happening. And yeah, so I think we're going to keep doing it. I think it's just another string to our bow. It's not the only way we communicate, but I think I would get some feedback if I were to stop now.
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I'm conscious of your time because you've got another call. I know you have. But let's just focus on the future then. Do you feel optimistic? Are you confident about the year ahead? You know, what are your biggest focuses? What are your priorities for this year, Paul?
I actually feel really optimistic for the year ahead. I think this year It's going to be a really exciting year. So we've got the naming ceremony we spoke of in March, and then right behind it in April, we've got the premiere of the Greatest Days musical with the cast of Take That.
That's very exciting.
And we just have a series of really exciting things throughout the year. And it feels like pre-pandemic again. It feels like we can celebrate the moments that we are introducing. I think guests recognize why cruising is a really great choice for them. And as I look for this year and next, I just think, you know, we're all going to appreciate it a bit more than perhaps we did before the pandemic. And to have a clear runway, I think great times are in front of us. I really do.
All right. Good place to leave it. It's so nice to hear you so positive. Really appreciate your time, Paul. Thank you very much. And we'll look forward to we look forward to the naming and you letting us know more that's going to be happening there. You keep drip feeding it so we know what we're going to be watching. So that'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you soon.